Whether you're new to project management or a seasoned professional, you've probably come across misconceptions about project management that could potentially derail your project. Even the most seasoned professionals have been impacted by these myths, and having coached tons of individuals and companies, I actually know some of the pitfalls that you need to avoid. So, on that note, let's go to myth busting on some of those misconceptions on project management.
Myth 1, project management is nothing more than a glorified schedule. Yes, scheduling is so important to project management, but that is not your project. There is so much more to it. There is planning, there's stakeholder management, there's stakeholder communication, change management, change control, risk planning, ensuring that you do after action reviews at key milestones, strategic thoughts. I'm letting you know there is so much more to it because you have to tie everything back into the strategic plan of the organization. Project management is not just about sticking to that timeline. It's about ensuring that you have a plan, everyone understands what needs to be done, and when things come to the surface, you are going to go ahead and brainstorm it out and get new solutions that still tie into your scope, time, and budget. Before we bust myth number 2, if you want to level up your project management game, that's exactly what I do, and I'm going to help you because I've created this, the 6 basic things you need to know in order to be successful in your projects. Now, how do you get this? All you have to do is in the comments below, write, send me my free guide, and then we will comment back with a link so that you can get your free download. Myth number 2, project management is only for large projects. Oh, I hear this all the time. This is when there's this misconception that project management concepts are just for these large global scale projects with multiple teams, and absolutely you need them from large projects. The complexity in a large project is just unbelievable. But what I see all the time, because not only am I a project management expert, I am a efficiency expert and productivity expert, and I come into organizations all the time to help them improve their ways of working. And I always see over and over again, smaller projects / initiatives, because again, a lot of times companies don't know what they're working on is actually a project, so they call them initiatives, but it's still a project. Start date, end date, and a deliverable, it's really a project. But yet they don't put the framework of a project around it. Now, you do not have to put the same magnitude as you would for a very large scale project, right? You don't have to do that, but you still need the basics. You still need the charter. You still need to have some sort of timeline and resources associated with it so that you can get the work done. Otherwise, it becomes loosey-goosey. People don't think of everything. And then that's why, if you're ever wondering, why is it that these ideas that you have really don't come to fruition? Well, it's because you're not putting the framework against it. Project management principles, when you customize them based on size by scaling it up or scaling it down, is critical for success. Myth 3, project management technology can solve all problems. Oh, this is a pet peeve of mine. And it's more so now than it was like way back when I started project management. Technology is a tool. That's my guiding principle. I can tell you over and over, it is there to help us. It can't solve problems, but yet I see technology being used as a band-aid solution. Not only that, it's a tool, and a tool is there to help for specific things. It does not teach us how to run a project from start to finish. And so a lot of times the tools that we use with project management technology are used to solve problems. And then that's where this disconnect comes in. Look, technology can be great, and there's some instances when it's extremely helpful, but we make the assumption that all technology is great and it's all going to help us and it's all going to make us more productive and efficient. And in essence, I actually find it adds another layer of complexity because people have to learn it, they don't know how to use it, and now it's an extra process they have to do on top of everything else. And it doesn't necessarily jive with the how-to in regards to running a project. So technology has its place, but it is not the solution. It is not the answer. It is not going to solve your problems. And you've heard me say this over and over again because I teach it in my SLAY project management course, and I'm a big believer in it. Framework is critical. Technology is only the tool, but you need to pick the right technology to help you. So please, this myth, we got to bust it. Myth 4, change is always bad on a project. Change is not bad. When you manage it properly, it's part of life. In fact, you have to understand in business, things are evolving every day. So we may have come up with a strategy for a project and we put everything together. And weeks from now, something could happen in the markets that change what we have to do and the way we do it. That's called life. So change is not a bad thing. Change actually is the only constant you can count on. So when you have that attitude, it's in how we manage it. So whenever you create your initial project plan, you'll notice that word initial project plan, that's your baseline. And why do you do that? Because you know some change is going to occur. Now, the key to making sure that change is not bad, because I know why people say that. Change happens, they don't do it properly, they don't manage change properly, and it creates a lot of havoc for the project itself. It may even derail the outcome, push out timelines. It's because you need to have a change control process in place. A real formalized change control process, which is simple and practical, that really pulls out the key points so you can understand what is it that you're doing, why are you doing it, the impact to time, scope, budget, what resources do you need. It's just going to help you really understand what that change is. And if it makes sense, then go ahead and do it. Just make sure that you lay it out and present it to your steering committee, because they're the true decision makers ultimately when there's major change going on. So change is not bad. It's all in how we handle it. Myth 5, project management certification guarantees success. I am all about certification. I think it has a lot of value. In fact, in my Slay Project Management course, there is a certification once you pass the exam and you can become a project management specialist. So I get it. I think certification just shows that there's a level of understanding that everybody knows. The myth around this, though, that needs to be busted is certification doesn't necessarily guarantee success, right? Because what's going to help you be successful is, yes, you need theory. We need to confirm that you understand the theory, which is where the certification comes from. It's a practical aspect of actually doing it, taking what you learn and applying it. That's what guarantees success. And I'll be honest, I've seen some great project managers who don't necessarily have certification. Why? Because they understand the practicality of things, of how to execute on a project. So yes, certification is great, but is not the be all end all. You really need to start putting things into practice. Myth 6, the project manager alone is responsible for the success or failure of the project. Bzz, no, okay, it's not about one person being responsible. And I think this becomes really important because it is so easy to point the finger. You got it wrong. This was unsuccessful. Now, what we need to realize is a project is made up of teams. And when you set up a project properly, by having a steering committee, by having a sponsor, by having your project manager, by having project team members, then your project is about encompassing a group of people who are looking to make sure that what you agree to do is going to come to fruition. So by just saying it's the project manager, no, because there's so many other people involved. So you can't blame the project manager. There's only so much a project manager and team can do. Ultimately, senior executives need to also get involved, which is why we have those sponsors and steering committees. So what is it that we can do to make sure that that doesn't happen? Be very, very clear in the beginning with your project charter about who's involved, roles and responsibilities, and expectations around that. Again, it takes a village to raise a child, which is the saying. It's the same thing. It takes a village of employees and team members and your project team to actually make your project come to fruition. So having a really good charter, laying out roles and responsibilities, using techniques like after action review. If something goes south, you want to be able to really analyze it to make sure that doesn't happen again. Having standard and regular steering committee meetings and high-level senior check-ins is going to be really important. Communicating also is another big one. And more importantly, something as well that I sometimes feel some project managers have a hard time doing is be on top of your reporting to senior management and be really clear with that red, yellow, green status updates on your project. It's okay to report yellows. Yellows means, hey, there's a potential problem, hasn't come to fruition, but I'm going to be looking to letting you know, because if it becomes a red where this is a problem, you're aware of it. So prepping people for issues is going to be really helpful so you can successfully eliminate them. People start to point and blame when they're not prepped and they're kind of been like, they've been sideswiped, so to speak. It's like, what? I didn't expect this. So just take note of that becomes really important, and to use all those techniques in order to make sure that everyone's on the same page and that you alone are not doing it all. Now that we've identified and we have busted these myths on project management, earlier on I told you need to get this. I created this. This is like my way of looking at projects and making sure that these things don't happen. And how do you get it? Well, guess what? The link is below this video. Okay, now that you know about the myths, don't dismiss them. But you should also watch this next video as well. On that note, if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. Consider joining this amazing community. And I will see you at the next video.